Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you for being here at the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Like always, I'll be spitting fire, telling you guys what's going on. Give everyone a couple seconds to come on in. You know, it's been tough right now. We'll give it a couple seconds. Give it just a bit. Okay, so we are live at the moment. I want to thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. So happy to have all of you here. Thank you for being here. I imagine, you, like me, you're probably pretty bummed out. I mean, you're probably upset. I know I am, with what went on with, Joe Thuney and everything. It's tough. It's really, really tough. I mean, it sucks. I was annoyed. I was upset. I wasn't happy with what was going on. But then I took a second and, I stepped back. I took a second, I thought about, so many things that I thought about that were really important. I thought about, last year with Joe Douglas, when we first got him, I wasn't, huge on it when in free agency, for example. I wasn't huge on what had happened in free agency. I didn't feel one way or another. It was the draft that sold me. It was the NFL draft that sold me on Joe Douglas. How he nailed it in that first draft. How he got Becton, the guy I wanted for over 2 years. Mims. I mean, the list goes on and on. But that's what sold me. I mean, I was convinced this year that we were going to be doing some spending. I did. I really thought we were going to be doing some spending. Let me see, just got some of you guys in here right now. Thank you for being, again, part of the podcast. Happy to have you all here. Again, I was just talking about with free agency with Joe Douglas last year. I wasn't too excited at the moment, but like I said, it was the draft that got me. So this year, I really thought we were going to spend some money. I thought this was the year we were going to. A lot of people said we were. Mike Garofalo, and others said that we were going to spend money on free agents. So, but the way I look at it is, it's a shame, but yeah. Glad to have you here, Jenny. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated. Yeah, it sucks. I was just saying that, the beginning. I was talking about how tough it is right now, with there were guys we wanted. There were literally guys we wanted that we didn't wind up getting. And I'm trying not to be too upset because I've thought about it and I think I can make, everyone feel better about the situation. I know the way I've been thinking about it a little bit more today. But initially, there were a lot of guys we wanted. One was obviously Joe Thuney, obviously. I mean, I'm going to talk about that I can get into it right now. With Joe Thuney, it's understandable, the situation. I mean, we've been saying this whole offseason up to now that we thought it was the quarterback that, was going to be that deciding factor of if we were, be able to get free agents. But with Thuney, it kind of proved it's really not just that. It's a winning culture. It sucks, but it seems like to be at the day where we're going to attract, the top free agents, the top echelon guys, we have to be a playoff team. We have to be a team that, if there's a couple of options of where they can go, they're going to choose us. That's what we're going to want them to do. And, like I said, it's tough, but I think that's the reality of the situation that, we look at it more as, the quarterback not being in place, as we were saying, that, the quarterback wasn't the piece that was in place. And what were we going to do? How are free agents going to treat us? But I think it really comes down to that. I really, really do. I think it comes down to that. So there's a couple of guys I was going to mention with that. Talk to you about, but the biggest thing to keep in mind is, like I was just saying, Joe Douglas is a draft guy. That's what it's about. You build your team through the draft. That's what it literally is all about. Yeah, commitment is part of the rebuild. That's how it works. That's how it is. You need to build through the draft. And We know that. Like Douglas said, the plan was to remember build through the draft, supplement in free agency. We hoped he was going to spend the big money, but again, we think he was in on Joe Thuney. He was in. He was trying to get it done. Thuney chooses the Chiefs. I mean, that's understandable. It really is. It's understandable. It sucks. But again, I think it reiterates that point of attracting the top free agents. If they're going to have a lot of options, we need to get over the hump we're at. Right now, we're at an indecisive hump where, people don't know exactly. I mean, I think we're going to be great. We're excited with Joe Douglas, with Salah, but people don't know, players, if they have the option to go to a team like the Chiefs or if they have an option to go to a team like the Bucs. I mean, they might choose that. I mean, Shaq Barrett, he re-signed with the Bucs. That was a big guy I was on. I mean, that was the best free agent edge rusher available. I'm going to talk to you guys about other edge rushers. But again, you know what? Like I said, I was a little bummed. I'm pretty upset. I noticed today, like, I wasn't in a good mood. I was upset earlier. I didn't feel like myself. I couldn't 100% figure out why. I think I'm just angry. That's what it is. As fans, we're just disappointed like Thuney. And I think, everything I just said before, for you guys that are just coming in, appreciate you guys. Thank you, as always, for tuning into the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Really appreciate you guys being here. I mentioned before, all the things that are going on. And yeah, Jenny says you're not alone. I think we're all kind of bummed. That's what it is right now. We're all upset. But again, I've said it before. I think the biggest thing is we came into this thinking the quarterback was going to be the deciding factor. The quarterback was going to be whether people sign with us. But I think people like Thuney proved that that's not really the issue. The issue is a winning culture. The issue is going to a team that can win now. So if we're going to sign high-profile free agents down the road, that will be an option, but we have to turn it around first. We have to, I guess, prove to, other guys that we can build through the draft. My apologies. We can build through the draft. We can make a quality team that we can compete. We can make the playoffs. And then that's when we're probably going to get a guy like Thuney. Because, again, he had multiple deals on the table. And people say it before, I was really angry when it happened. I was like, man, I wish we got him. And everyone pointed out the obvious, Everyone pointed out that why would he not choose the Chiefs over us? Which is unfortunately the obvious. So I think it comes down to that. We were so wrapped up about the quarterback, but it's more than that. It's a winning culture. It's winning in the playoffs. It's making a name. And we're going to do that. We're going to build a team. And Douglas is going to get us to a competent point. And when we get to a competent point, that's when those big guys are going to want to come if they have multiple offers. So, again, forgetting those guys, forget about it. They're gone. I'm going to tell you, I wrote down some names, a lot of the guys that I've been excited about. I'm going to tell you about some of the remaining free agents. And there's a lot of guys to still be excited about. So, first, I want to start off with the one guy we did sign today. Now, interesting situation. I mean, we signed a guy that was a first round pick. He was actually the 21st overall pick when he went back in 2017. Now, he hasn't even come close to living up to that status. Let's be honest. Over the last 4 years, Jarrad Davis, the linebacker we signed from the Lions, has a PFF of 52.8, 51, 38.6, and 62.2. I can't believe I'm stating that 62.2 is the highlight of his career. He had his best year last year, and he wasn't even a starter per se. So it's a head scratcher, but again, the logic behind it with Joe Douglas. This guy was the 21st overall pick when he went. He was considered to be great. He was supposed to be something excellent. Clearly, he hasn't lived up to that status. But if there's one thing Jarrad Davis does well, he's not, and I say not completely lost, so it's not a great thing, but he's not completely lost in pass coverage. So he's a okay to decent-ish pass cover guy. So maybe Douglas is hoping that he can become one of those 4-3 outside linebackers that we desperately need. Because remember, I mentioned to you guys in the other podcast, when we switched to the 4-3, it was really exciting. I was super excited about it because we have Quinnen and John Franklin Myers, two guys that can really get into it in the middle. They actually had much more production this last season in the center than anywhere else on the edges. And then we have guys like Bryce Huff, guys like Terrell Basham, who seem to play better with their hand in the dirt. as opposed to standing outside edge rushers. So we had that down. The big question mark was outside linebackers. I feel like Neville Hewitt's still not the worst option. So if we can re-sign him, I mean, he's not bad in pass coverage. People crap on him a lot. I don't think he's that bad in pass coverage. He's not the greatest, but he's actually quite good in pursuit and quite good in man coverage. Struggles a little bit in zone. He's not the horrible blitzer. He can get to the quarterback maybe 3, 4, 5 times a season. That's pretty much what you want with an okay outside linebacker in a 4-3 system. So I think, if Jarrad Davis, as Douglas is hoping, can become that guy. If Jarrad Davis can become what he was supposed to be. When he was drafted in 2017, they took him with the 21st overall pick, the Lions, for a reason. They expected him to be great. Clearly that hasn't happened, but Douglas signed him to a 1-year, $7 million deal. You got to love Douglas with these 1-year deals. It's basically like the same thing with Pierre Desir. If he does well, that's wonderful. We'll figure it out then. If he doesn't, there's the door. The door's right over there. So that's how it's going to work. With Jarrad Davis, it's not a bad signing because, again, it's a 1-year deal. So if he doesn't show, if he doesn't produce, if he looked like he did in the earlier 4 prior seasons, forget about him. Move on. Cut him. Done. Doesn't matter. Okay? But it's not a bad waiver. And again, it makes sense with what Douglas is doing. Like I was saying before, with the guys that go today, the guys that go on the first day of not even free agency, this is the first day of the tampering period. The guys that go this day, they have people, as long as they're not re-signing with their team, they have people that are in on them. They have multiple teams that are going at them. We said before, like with Thuney, if you have a choice between Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and the Jets, and the money's basically the same, it's a pretty easy decision, and it sucks. But again, like I said before, I think it comes down to what we're trying to build. Douglas and Saleh, they're going to build something, build through the draft, make us a good team, bring us to the point where elite playoff guys in the next time around, couple of years from now, a guy like Joe Thuney will pick the Jets. That's what we're hoping for. That's what I'm thinking is going to be the end goal. So again, we signed Jarrad Davis. Not a great signing by any means, but not a bad signing either. Again, could be great, could wind up proving. Okay, we'll have to see. So again, I wanted for you guys to make you guys feel better. I ran through the names of guys that are still available, and there's still a lot of good guys available. Still a lot of good free talent available. But again, remember, I think Joe made that point as well today. We're building through the draft. We're building something sustainable, and we're going to be a draft team. I did it myself. I was excited about free agency because, again, we had so much money. We went from a point where, and you got to try and remember, wrap your head around this. In 2019, we had a GM that spent $250 million in one free agency. $250 million alone, once in one free agency on guys that don't deserve the money. And I joke about it like Henry Anderson. 7 sacks in one season, never did anything prior. He deserves $25 million. I mean, that just makes sense. So Matt throws all this money around. 2 years later, just 2 years later, Joe Douglas has us at 80-something million. We're going to be down a little bit now, but maybe he's like probably, I think, high 60s, low 70s. Still one of the highest in the NFL. So I expected, you brought that up, Jenny, Patriots making moves. And I was going to cover that. I was going to get to that, but you brought it up. So you know what? Let's talk about the Patriots for a second. I think for the first time ever, Belichick's maybe getting a little bit old. Maybe Belichick's making some mistakes. Maybe he's getting to that time where it's time for him to step down, and let somebody else take over. Because today, the Patriots made 2 big signings. And in both of them, I think they overpaid. I mean, I was huge on Jonnu Smith. Don't get me wrong. You guys know I love Jonnu. I've been talking about him for a long time, nonstop about Jonnu, the talent of him, the fact that he's got wide receiver speed, but a tight end body and build. But he only had 400-something yards the last 2 years under Ryan Tannehill. And before he played with Ryan Tannehill, he didn't do anything. He was a non-factor. Before Tannehill got there, he was a non-factor. And he has 2 years with 400 yards. What did the Patriots give him? They gave him $50 million with, I believe, about 30-something guaranteed. I did not expect Jonnu to get that kind of money. Maybe Joe Douglas was in on him, but he was going for a lot less. Point is, that's an overpay. without question, to me, that's an overpay. And you look at Matt Judon. Personally, he wasn't a great fit in our system anyway. So I was, even though, I'm not always a system guy, as I pointed out to you guys, with guys like Shaq Barrett, Barrett supersedes system, just like a guy like Kenny Golladay, a true wide receiver one, supersedes a system because they can function in anything in the NFL. That's because of the ability they have. But Judon, I was never high on to begin with. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know that I feel like they overpaid. A lot of people felt like they overpaid. So the Patriots made 2 big splashes today, and they paid a lot of money. And that's what teams do on the first day. The first day of the tampering period, they spend a lot of money. That's just what they do. Because like I said before, a lot of people are in on them. It's the first day. It's 48 hours before free agency even begins. These guys have multiple suitors. So the price goes up. How much are you going to pay? How much are you going to pay? We know Joe's not going to overpay. We know that. He's too smart to overpay. He has a price. He's going to stick firm to it, which is good. I mean, you don't want to overpay because, again, you could wind up on the other side of the spectrum where you have a guy like Mac. That's dangerous. So I think, he was trying to get guys like Thuney. People said the Jets had interest and were in there. So I think he was trying to get the big guys. But speaking of the big guys, you guys remember I tweeted about 4 big guys. 4 guys I had on, my list of like, this is the dream team, the 4 best guys we can get. Only 2 are gone. 2 of them are still there, guys. Kenny Golladay is still available. And I forgot the reporter. It might have been Fowler. I don't remember, but somebody earlier today said that if you had to predict where Kenny Golladay is going to go, it would be the Jets. Now, that's exciting because, again, like I've told you guys, people say, Golladay, would he fit in, the system we have? Would he, isn't he kind of like Mims? I've said this before, a true wide receiver one like Golladay, there is no system need. There is no scheme fit. This is the guy that makes contested catches, fights for every yard, makes unbelievable grabs, touchdown grabs, literally the guy you go to for every play. He's going to make it. You don't say Allen Robinson has a scheme fit. He's going to make it anywhere. Same thing with Golladay. There's no scheme fit for Golladay. Golladay is a true number one. Now, when it comes to paying a lot of the other guys, you guys have known my opinion. I'm a little iffy on paying big money to middle guys. And I think Joe Douglas is going to be the same way. Because if you think about it, a lot of the big guys don't hit. We saw Barrett re-signed, right? Top free agents re-signing. It narrows the pool, and it means people are going to overpay. I mentioned this with Trey Hendrickson, getting into some of the edge rushers a little bit. Hendrickson didn't do much his first 2 seasons. Last season, before this one in 2019, he had, I believe it was about, I want to say 4.5 or 6.5 sacks, give or take around there. This last season, he broke out. This last season, he had 13.5 sacks. But a lot of people pointed out, and I thought so too. I was thinking, it felt like a lot of his sacks were coverage sacks. And other people started pointing that out as well, I noticed. So I decided to go back, reevaluate film, and I'm going to give the dude the benefit of the doubt. In my opinion, a quarterback barely has over 3 seconds to throw the ball in the NFL. If you have 3 to 4 seconds, you're golden. I figured I'll be generous and I'll give him 5 to 6. So I didn't count sacks where he broke off the lineman before that. So if he was, on the lineman going back and forth, quarterback, fades out, whatever he's doing, if he breaks from the lineman's grip after a 5 or 6 second count and then gets the quarterback, that's what I'm counting as a coverage sack. I know it was either 8 or 9. I don't remember exactly which, but I know it was either 8 or 9. Therefore, if you take that out, that's the same thing he did last year. It's about 5.5, 4.5, 6.5 sacks. Now, he's going to make, it depends. Some people say he could make 8 to 10. I'd probably be okay with that, but again, it comes down to price. I'm not paying more than 10. He could be making 12, 14. I'm not doing that because, again, last season, he had the most sacks. Last season, Trey Hendrickson, and that's what teams are going to remember. Same thing like with Lindsley. Lindsley signed for megabucks. Megabucks, I believe. Don't quote me, but I think he's now the highest paid center or close to the highest paid center. I don't know if one of you guys can clarify that for me. I know that he's very significantly paid as a center right now. But you guys know I pointed out, last season he was phenomenal. He had an all-pro best year of his career. Years before that, he gave up 9 sacks in 2018 and 2019 alone between the two of them, and he always graded low. He didn't do that well. He was inconsistent. Last year was his best year where he played really, really well. So somebody overpaid for him. And I think somebody's going to overpay for Trey Hendrickson. I know that we're involved right now. People say there's interest of the Jets in Trey Hendrickson. Again, it comes down to price for me. I like a lot more edge guys in the draft. Again, like we've been saying, Joe's been saying it. It's all about the draft. It's all about the draft. It's all about the draft. And we get excited because, we have money to spend. I told you guys earlier, I had the same way. I was all excited. We have money to spend. But I'm telling you, I fell for Joe after that first draft. You guys know it. I fell hard, loving him, getting all my guys except for two, except for Zanugan, Perrine, everybody. I was like, hit, loved it. Best draft the Jets have ever had. That's what I'm hoping for. Again, that he's going to nail another draft. Nail it. And now that Lindsley's gone, I've been saying it before. I've been saying it till I'm blue in the face. I've been saying it for over a year. We need Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey is the man we need. And if you guys want to check it out, I'm doing a film eval on Saturday with Jimmy, a Jets guy. I'll tweet it out for you guys so you can check it out. We're specifically doing a film eval on Creed Humphrey because I've been studying him a lot. So he wants to have me on so we can talk about it. But a little bit here right now with Creed, you guys know I've been on him for a long time. This is the guy. This is what you need. And you remember I've been pointing out, comparing him to Mangold. I think the best example I gave was just another day or so ago. Nick Mangold, remember pointing on that offensive line. That's the key right there because you want a center that's more than just a blocker. Your center should be more than just, picking up assignments because that's what we have right now with McGovern. And McGovern's not even great at picking up assignments to begin with, let's be honest. But let's call a spade a spade. But with a guy like Humphrey, you want a leader. You want a quarterback. I pointed out the other day with Nick Mangold. Think back to, you remember Nick Mangold with Mark Sanchez. Think back to Mark Sanchez. How many times was he pointing somewhere on the defense, with an incoming defender maybe or incoming blitzer or a play change that he wants Sanchez to be aware of? Sanchez would look, he'd adjust. How many times would he change the play potentially? We've seen him even do that. How many times would he go to another lineman and, tell them what to do, or if they missed an assignment, or if they have to pick somebody else up because of a change or a shift? That's what you need, and that's what Humphrey is. Kyler Murray said this about him when he went in the draft. Kyler Murray had nothing but great stuff to say about Humphrey. I'm telling you guys, Humphrey is the way we need to go. I was confident about that before Lindsley went. Now he's gone. We need it. That's it. We need Creed Humphrey. And I'm telling you guys, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes in the first round. People are saying it now. I don't remember who it was. One analyst said that he could potentially go in the first round as well. I think he could. And it's going to come down to Joe deciding if he can get him with the 34th overall pick or not. If he doesn't think he can, I'm fine with 23. I am fine with pulling the trigger at 23 to potentially get Humphrey. And again, that's the guy we need. We need an all-star center. We need that tandem. We need, remember, what we had, the staple, the Brickishaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold. That was our staple. Those are two guys we got in the same draft, same first round. They built that offensive line, and they were the staples of it for a decade. That's what we need, and that's what we're going to find and get with Humphrey. Combination of Becton and Humphrey is going to be a great combination for a long time. Long time. So I told you guys I was going to tell you about some free agents to make you guys feel better. So starting off the list without question, I mentioned before, there were two guys on my list that were top guys that are still there. One, obviously, I mentioned before, Kenny Golladay, spoke about him a little bit. They say the Jets could potentially be in on him, that they could definitely be a suitor. I think so. Because again, we said wide receiver one, there's no scheme fit for a guy like him. He fits in any system. You pair him with Mims. Man, just imagine Golladay and Mims. Crowder is the third receiver in the slot. Maybe we draft a tight end as well. I mean, hopefully we get a bigger season from Herndon, but that's exciting stuff. That's what we need. We need a wide receiver one. That's what we're looking for. That's why I'm, hesitant on guys like Juju, as I was going to mention before. Obviously, guys like Juju, Curtis Samuel, they're not wide receiver ones. They're not wide receiver ones on their best days. I'm afraid that someone's going to overpay Juju, thinking that he could potentially still be a wide receiver one. I guess we're going to have to see about that. I'm thinking that somebody might overpay him. We're going to have to wait and see. But both of those guys, primarily slot guys, Juju much better on the outside, much, much better on the outside. Samuel isn't that great on the outside, in my opinion, isn't great at making, contested physical catches when the defender is right on top of him or physical with him. I feel like he misses that and doesn't have that. Plus, last year was his first big year. What was he doing the 3 years prior? Not much. So if he's going to make 12, 14 something million. That's potentially what he's going to make. Crowder's making 11. People were talking about, Crowder not earning 11, but at least Crowder's consistently one of the best slot receivers in the NFL. Crowder's consistently been, since he came in the NFL, one of the best slot receivers. He's shifty, he's elusive, and I honestly think he's decently physical enough. He could probably line up on the outside. He's not going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's going to be, the best outside wide receiver you've ever seen, but he could. So depending on price, that's really what it comes down to. And I think Joe feels the same way. Depending on price, I'm not going to overpay for a Curtis Samuel. I'm not going to overpay for a Juju Smith-Schuster. I am going to pay Kenny Golladay, and I'm surprised some people saying Golladay could potentially go for 14, 16. That's potentially what Juju can get. That's crazy. If Golladay can get 14, 16, hell, I'll offer him 18 right now just to seal the damn deal, just to get him on paper and get it done. I'll do it right now. Done. That's a true wide receiver one. Man that put up over 2,000-something yards in 2 seasons, 18 and 19 when he was huge, did great, multiple touchdowns. In those 2 years, he missed one game. One game. He missed games in his rookie year, but so does everybody. So did Mims. A lot of people do. He was healthy the last 2 years. The last season, 2020, he got hurt, but statistically, he was actually on track to have a better yet season. If he hadn't gotten hurt, he was statistically going to have another 1,000-something yard season. He was doing phenomenal before he got hurt. And, the claims are that he's 100% healthy. He's good. He's ready to rock. So that would be a good option. Another good option, Saleh comes from the 49ers. Robert Saleh's a 49ers guy, which means not only do we have a better chance of getting 49ers guys, we know they fit the system. There's no question. There's not like, is this going to work? Are these guys going to make it? So a perfect name I like is Ahkello Witherspoon. I know K'Waun Williams has been thrown around a little bit, but you guys know I'm high on Javelin Guidry. Man, I'm always getting me some Javelin Guidry. Guidry's phenomenal, elusive, fast, keep up with anybody, 4.29 40 fast, and he proved to be damn good in coverage. Last season, in coverage, he only graded out 2 points below Poole. 2 points below our best coverage corner on the team. Best way to look at it, Poole was phenomenal when he was in the game. Poole was fantastic. One of the best slot guys when he came out. Did you notice a difference? And I think there's your answer. There's your answer, because Guidry stepped in, and Guidry played at a high level. So I really like him in the slot. Again, building through the draft. If you want to get another inside slot guy, give me some Asante Samuel Jr. You guys have seen that in my articles. Give me some Asante Samuel Jr. all day. That kid's probably going to be one of the best slot receivers in the league in a couple of years. Man let no 100 yards his whole time at Florida State. Forget once. Man didn't let a single guy get 100 yards ever. He had that defense on lock and key. So that would be a good guy to look into. So back to Ahkello Witherspoon, though. He's a prototypical outside cornerback. He's everything you look for and everything you want in an outside CB2. He really is. He's 6'1", almost about 6'2", 195 pounds, very physical, very strong, plays tough at the point of attack. He plays man coverage pretty well, but he's better in zone. He's a really good zone cover corner, and like I said, he's physical. He had a solid rookie season. He struggled a little bit in 2018 and 2019. Wasn't that great? But last year he came on. Last year, contract year, he lit it up. He came out and had an 80.2 PFF rating. He was excellent, totally perfect for a CB2. I love if Ahkello Witherspoon is signed. So that's one guy that we should really be high on. One guy still on everyone's board. I was really high on Cameron Sutton. He re-signed with the Steelers. We'll move on from that. But another one, guys, Jamaal Williams. Jamaal Williams is still available. Everyone was saying that, Aaron Jones was going to hit free agency. I didn't think that was going to happen. I figured Aaron Jones was going to sign a long-term contract and Jamaal Williams would hit free agency. That's what I've been saying for a while. You guys have seen, with my Madden videos, I've been playing with Jamaal Williams for a while. I really thought they'd sign Aaron Jones. And when that conversation happened, a couple weeks back that he may hit free agency, I was surprised. But just like it is most of the time, it unfolded how we expected it. Aaron Jones is back with Green Bay. He's staying long-term with the Green Bay Packers. And Jamaal Williams is set to hit free agency. Now, if you can believe it, Jamaal Williams was actually a higher draft pick than Aaron Jones. Shows you how draft picks don't mean much. I've told you guys that before. Jamaal Williams went 1 round higher than Aaron Jones. And even though they're both solid. Aaron Jones has been amazing. Aaron Jones has been incredible. He's been the entire running game of the Packers for the majority of the last couple of years. Because of that, when Jamal Williams has played, he's looked excellent. We've seen it. He's looked fantastic when he's played. He averages over 4 yards a carry pretty much all the time. Excellent back, elusive, shifty, pretty decent receiving back too. And he played really well toward the end of last season. Really well. He's been undershadowed. He's been in the shadow of Aaron Jones. This is a guy that if the Jets could sign, and I don't think it'll be a lot of money. I don't think he's going to come cheap. Because again, I think teams see what I'm seeing, that when he plays, he's been fantastic. And he's looked like he should get a lot more of a workload and could potentially be an excellent running back fine. I'm thinking he's probably going to get, if I had to guess, running backs, don't make as much money as they used to. I would say somewhere between low end 5, high end maybe 8, 9, give or take, but I don't think it's going to be that high. I don't. A season. And I would do it. I mean, I think he could definitely be a lead back. I really, really like Jamal Williams. And again, if you guys are like me, you want Zach Wilson. I'm hoping most of you guys, you tuned into my first podcast. You heard all about, my QB eval. Hopefully you get now why I've constantly been off fields and why I just fell in love with Zach Wilson. If we take Zach Wilson, guess what? Where did Jamal Williams play his college ball? Jamal Williams played at BYU, baby. Jamal Williams is another BYU alum. You want chemistry? There's no better chemistry than a former guy that used to go to your school. You can't get chemistry better than that, instant chemistry. You put Jamal Williams in that backfield, you draft Zach Wilson, man, that's going to be exciting. That's 2 BYU boys brought together. That could be exciting stuff. Another guy I want to bring up, and I got a good one for you guys. You guys ready for this? I have an excellent stat poll that I got for you. So I've been really high on Rashad Higgins for a while. High on Rashad Higgins. I feel like this guy doesn't get enough credit. He's big. He's physical. He's large. He plays strong. He's just not the fastest guy. He's not going to win any kind of foot race. He reminds me in a way in that sense of like Eric Decker. Decker wasn't a fast guy by any means, but he was physical and he made contested catches and he caught the ball when it was near him. Every time I watch Higgins, I feel like he always hauls in the ball. The ball, you just put it within his vicinity and he brings it in. So I wanted to check something out and I got this for you guys. Allen Robinson, the top guy we've wanted, the best receiver that was going to be available. Hey, if they're willing to trade him, he still is. So Allen Robinson in 2020 had a catch percentage of only 68%. Now, granted, he had a very high volume of balls coming his way, but he had a catch rate of 68%. The year before that, 2019, he had a catch rating of 64%. That blew my mind, even lower. Now let's look at a guy like Chris Godwin, the next top free agent that we thought would maybe be available. Another true, as we said, wide receiver 1, just like Allen Robinson. He was a lot better. In 2020, he had a 77% completion rating. Sorry, catch percentage, my apology, catch percentage. And in 2019, he had a 71% catch percentage. That's really good. That's what you want. Anything in the, honestly, 75 and up, that's wide receiver 1 material, basically, almost. You ready for this? In 2020, Rashad Higgins had a catch percentage of 71%. 71%. In 2019, he was hurt. He didn't play. In 2018, his catch percentage was 74%. 74. Rashad Higgins doesn't get enough balls thrown his way. He's only seeing 40, maybe 50 targets a season max. But when the ball goes his way, he catches it. He makes the play. He gets it. I'm telling you, watch this kid. Again, that catch percentage, it's higher than Allen Robinson the last 2 years. It's on par with Chris Godwin. Rashad Higgins could be a wide receiver too. These are the kind of guys I think Joe Douglas is going to be going for. And that's the point I'm getting at here. He's not going to, I think, go for, again, the Jujus, the Curtis Samuels that are going to get a pretty huge contract and maybe do those kind of percentages. Probably not. Maybe. He's going to go for the guys that have potential. Like we saw with Gerard Davis. I mean, perfect example. 21st overall pick, ton of potential when drafted. Not bad in pass coverage. The one thing he does well, which is really the one thing the Jets really need in a linebacker right now. That's their biggest need of anything right now. So, 1-year deal, see if it happens. I'm telling you, I think Rashad Higgins screams Joe Douglas because you look at that percentage, again, it matches up with wide receiver ones, and it's actually high for a wide receiver too. So Rashad Higgins is definitely a guy that should be looked into, and he's going to be a lot cheaper. You're going to be able to get him for maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 tops a year. You could get Rashad Higgins and Kendrick Bourne, another name I was going to mention. Remember, we talk about 49er guys. Douglas is going to be really big on his Niner guys. You can get both of those guys for the price it would probably cost to get one Juju, or the price it would cost to get a Curtis Samuel. So again, that's the way I look at it, and I just wanted to show you guys that because that's big. I've been big on Rashad Higgins for a while. That stat blew my mind, guys. Again, higher catch percentage than Allen Robinson the last 2 years, which means who knows? If he gets more volume, which he's never gotten, he's always getting 40, 50 receptions a year. If you give him the volume, if he keeps that up, hell, maybe he could be a wide receiver 1. Who knows? But that's definitely wide receiver 2 potential, and he's going to be a lot cheaper. So I wanted to throw that out there because, again, those are names the Jets should look at. Ahkello Witherspoon, I think, would be a perfect fit because that fills an immediate need. A CB2 immediately. Okay, now, if we get Richard Sherman, who was the other guy I remember on my list, remember that top list we had that are still left? Kenny Golladay. And wait, my bad, guys. Said we lost connection for a second. All good. I'm still here. Okay. So hopefully you can hear me. It says, okay, good. It says we got our connection back. A little bit of lag. It said the connection wasn't working. We're here now. Hopefully we're locked in. But those are some names, guys. Witherspoon, like I said, immediate CB2. Sign Richard Sherman, man. That's it right there. Now, for the first time ever, we're trying to figure out who to play. Is Hall going to be the guy? Is Sherman going to be the guy? Maybe Witherspoon? Maybe Les steps up? Options. Options are huge. So Richard Sherman's still available. You remember, guys, I pointed out to you, I believe it was a podcast or 2 ago, when I was talking about Richard Sherman. Yeah, he's not going to keep up with the speedy guys anymore. He's not going to keep up with a Tyreek Hill over the top. But let's be honest, guys. Bryce Hall ain't keeping up with a Tyreek Hill over the top. But let's be honest, guys. Bryce Hall ain't keeping up with a Tyreek Hill over the top. Not many guys are. That's what safety help is for. But when it comes to zone coverage, when it comes to reading the quarterback's eyes and playing in the zone, when it comes to playing the line of scrimmage within 10 yards and being physical with a receiver, you're still not going to get better than Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was hurt last year. That's why he had the problems he did. That's why he was sluggish. Man, if he's healthy, Saleh brings him in, tells him, man, I need you. I need a leader on this team. I need someone to lead the troops into battle. I need someone to fire them up. I need one of my guys, somebody that can make my team great, that can show the young cornerbacks the way. I don't see how Richard Sherman doesn't come. I mean, everyone says he stays on the West Coast. Yeah, because he's followed Robert Saleh. He followed Saleh everywhere he's been. Now, people say he doesn't want to live in New York. He can rent. Why does he have to buy a place? Sherman, hope you're listening, my man. Keep your place in New York. I tweeted out keep your place in California. I tweeted that out the other day. You don't need to move. Keep your house. Hell, you got the cash, my man. You got someone that'll watch that house for you. Rent a place in New York. Rent a place here. You make it work, and we'll be happy to have you. Jet fans would love to have you. So Sherman's still available. Ahkello Witherspoon's still available. I don't think he'll go for Quan Williams, but again, Williams is still available. That is a slot option potentially. Mention Jamal Williams. I think, again, this guy is underappreciated, underutilized. You saw it last year, specifically in the playoffs, too. When he gets ball, he's a force. He's strong and a powerful running back, but he's also shifty. He's also quick, and he's a decent pass catcher. I honestly feel Jamal Williams' problem is underutilization. You look at the numbers, the averages are there, the percentages are there. Everything is where you want it. And I'm telling you, same thing with Rashad Higgins. I couldn't believe it when I looked it up. Blew my mind. I always felt that with Rashad Higgins, he catches almost everything in his vicinity. And he has been. Blows my mind. I'm telling you right here, you can say it right here, came first. Rashad Higgins has a better catch percentage than Allen Robinson. Better than the man we wanted. almost identical to Chris Godwin. And I didn't bring up Golladay, but I bet it's damn close too. So Golladay, easy wide receiver one. Definitely got to bring that guy on. Again, I think Joe Douglas is willing to spend the money, but I feel personally he's only going to spend the money on a guy truly deserving of it. I think he's shaky on spending on a middle of the pack, like I mentioned before, a Juju, a Curtis Samuel, potentially maybe a Trey Hendrickson because of the coverage sacks I mentioned earlier. They say Hendrickson's an option, but you know what? I'm going to say it right now. Maybe not. I think Hendrickson might maybe go a little cheaper than we think. Maybe that be why the Jets get him. I think if the Jets get Hendrickson, it's because he went for $8 to $10 million. It's not because he got an insanely huge contract. Maybe something like 4 years, $40 million, something like that, give or take. I mean, that's big, but that's not insane money. Okay. So that was pretty much what I wanted to bring up with you guys. Again, it was just the Rashard Higgins specifically. I feel like he's a big guy I want to go after. I've talked about him a lot. I feel like he's completely underappreciated. Same thing with Jamal Williams. Both of those guys would be excellent additions. Same with Witherspoon. And there's more guys, edge rushers. Bud Dupree. Sorry, let's talk about the edge rushers for a second. Because edge rusher is a huge need for the Jets. Huge need. They need a edge rusher. They've needed one for a long time. We haven't had a great one since you know who. If I were to ask you to make a list of all the great edge rushers the Jets have had over the last 20 years, that's not just going to be a short list. That's going to be a one-name list. And that one name on the list is John Abraham. That's it. We need edge rushers. We haven't had one. Again, I loved Barrett. I wanted Barrett. You guys know why I banged the table for him. I'm a little hesitant with the guys that are left. For example, guys like Bud Dupree, Trey Hendrickson, Carl Lawson. I tweeted it out earlier. Quick examples, with Bud Dupree, he had, for the first 4 years of his career, he was a high 20-something pick. He didn't do much. He was very unproductive. He only had about 6 sacks a season. In fact, he looked like a bust for his first 4 years. Last 2, he really came on. Last 2, I think he has about 19 and a half sacks alone in the last 2 years, which is great. But what about before that? Trey Hendrickson, remember I mentioned before, where I felt a lot more coverage sacks. You take those out, he's had 2 years with 5.5 sacks. I mean, okay, not that great. That's not elite by any means. The other one, Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson had a fantastic rookie season where he had 8.5 sacks. Since then, he's had 11.5 in 3 years. He's had 11.5 sacks over the course of 3 years. I think if, like with Jarrad Davis, you could take a flyer on him with a 1-year deal, I think that's the kind of stuff Joe would do. Like these guys that we know, like I'm pointing out right now, that aren't elite by any means. They don't deserve top-of-the-line money. I think Joe doesn't want them unless they're willing to take a certain amount, and that's not what we're going to see. So again, I think lower guys like Kendrick Bourne, Rashard Higgins, who could surprise people, they'd be a big step up. That's really the main guys I wanted to bring up. There's a lot of guys that were signed today, but I'm not going to talk about that. We won't have to go into that. We know who was signed. We don't have to talk about that. We talked about that in the beginning of the podcast, if you guys caught that. I mentioned Jarrad Davis as well. We won't go too much longer. What I'll do is I'll end you guys pretty soon. But before we do go, I just want to put a tribute out to my man, Drew Brees. I'm sorry. I apologize. Normally I take questions from you guys. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. So Jenny, I always tell you guys, you can interact with me in the comment section. You guys can ask me questions. You guys can, talk to me. I encourage you to ask questions, interact with me, bring things up that you want me to discuss. If something I said, doesn't make sense, you want me to say it again, let me know. But trading CJ Mosley, that's a really interesting move. I honestly, if you go back to my tweets, like go back, way like beginning of this season, I was saying that. Remember, I was saying, if you guys remember, that I don't see any way that we can get out of this insane contract. But if Joe Douglas can pull some unbelievable, magical ninja gymnastic, get us out of this contract, then hell, I'd be up for trading Mosley. I would, because you have to remember the guy's close to 30 years old, and I do still think he can be an excellent player. I hope if we keep him, he comes back on an elite level. But we paid him $57.5 million with almost the majority of it guaranteed. Since then, I think he's played 2 games. With $57.5 million. So In 2 years, a lot changes. You hope that he's gotten healthy. You hope that he's better. You hope the injuries have healed. But, people pointed it out with Le'Veon Bell at the time. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. Are we getting back the same player? I don't know. I posed this question earlier as well. Earlier in the season, I posed the question to Jets Twitter to ask you guys, what do you think about CJ Mosley? Because honestly, like I said, he's only played 2 games. He's getting up there in age, and the contract is huge. I don't see how we get out of it. I mean, we would have to really, like Joe Douglas, if he gets out of the CJ Mosley, it's going to make Jamal Adams and the 2 picks look like nothing. We're going to forget about Jamal Adams and the fact that he got 2 first. If he can convince a team to take on almost like, what is it, like 40-something guaranteed money that we'd have to pay him by cutting him to take him on after the time he's missed, that's it, guy. I'll be blown away. That would be the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, could it happen? It's possible. I think it's highly unlikely. I think the odds of it are extremely unlikely because of the contract he got. And again, it's kind of hard to fault Maccagnan because, there's so many things to fault him on. Again, don't get me wrong. He was horrible. He was the worst. But at the time, he paid the best inside linebacker, and CJ Mosley was supposed to be great. I mean, and when he played, he did. Don't get me wrong. That first game, you guys remember, he was amazing. He lit it up. So hopefully we're getting that Mosley back. We're getting back a CJ Mosley that he was in the beginning of 2019, but now he's rested. Now he's healthy. Now he's ready to go. That's what I'm hoping for, because he would make an excellent middle linebacker for the 4-3 system. An excellent Mike. He really, really would. But again, if Joe can trade it, that'd be amazing. Like, that would be finding somebody that's willing to take on that contract would be amazing. I would take it. I would take it in a heartbeat. I really would. So Jenny brought up CJ Mosley also with you guys. If you want, I can talk to you about Sam Darnold, because that's really big. Over the last couple of days, there's been multiple teams. They haven't announced who really, which makes sense because you don't want the fans of your team knowing that this could be potentially happening. You want to keep that under hush and key until it actually happens. But there's said to be about 8 or so teams potentially trying to get Sam Darnold for the Jets. And remember, Schefter can take all the credit, I guess, but I said it first. I said it a month before he did, that with all the recent retirements, my boy Drew Brees, who I was going to mention, so sad to see him go, but again, that's how it works. We can't stay young forever. It's always the changing of the guard. People have to move on so the young guys can come in. The next one's up. But teams are going to want him. And the more teams that are interested in Sam Darnold, maybe a bidding war can start. Maybe a team offers a third. Maybe another team offers a second. Hell, maybe another team says, we'll give you our first. So maybe we can get a first outright for Sam Darnold. That would be the greatest thing in the world. Imagine getting Zach Wilson at 2, Creed Humphrey with one of the other first-round picks, because I think we might have to spend a first on Creed, and I'm okay with that. And then somebody else, like a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, like a J.C. Horn, like a Rashad Bateman. That would be amazing. Or I pitched it to you guys, and NFL Network, again, I think they might be reading my tweets. I pointed it out as well. Told you guys, maybe, crazy idea. Teams like the Panthers claim to be in the market for a quarterback. Maybe we can package Sam, because if he counts as a late first, if that's what we're grading him as, then metrically, 2 late firsts, a 23 and let's say a 28 or something, that's what we're going to weigh Sam as, is more than fair for the 8th overall. That's completely fair trade. Will the Panthers take it? That's another question altogether. But that's a fair trade. So maybe Joe does something amazing there. I mean, again, guys, Joe's stressed it's all about the draft. And we get all excited about free agency. Hell, I did. Because again, like I mentioned before, we had money to spend. We had that money. We were ready to dole it out. But like I said before, guys, I think if you can't get the top guys, which I think he was trying to get Thuney, we do believe from what we've heard, he was trying to get Thuney. Like I said, Thuney chose the Chiefs. I told you before why obviously he would do that. And I think that's why, again, we need to become more of a competitive team, which is what's going to happen, which will attract better free agents. But I think he's going to be in more on the guys I was mentioning, 49er guys like lower tier that you may not, think of initially. But again, not the lower tier guys that are going to be expensive, not the guys that people are listing high as free agents because they're the only ones available. That's what, That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to spend money on a guy that's not worth it because he's the one that's there. As you know, I pointed out to you guys before, Denzel Mims's floor is a wide receiver 1. My apologies, wide receiver 2. His floor is a wide receiver 2. That's it. So if you have Mims's floor as a wide receiver 2, why are you going to pay a guy like Juju 12, 14 million when for another 4 or 5 more, you can have a Golladay. You can have that true wide receiver 1. So I'm telling you guys, I think Joe's taken all of this into account. He's factoring it all in. Again, be excited if we sign Rashad Higgins, because I'm telling you, you guys heard it here first. He has catch percentages on par with wide receiver 1s and higher than most wide receiver 2s. It's impressive. He's had lack of targets. That's been his problem. Again, not the fastest guy, but he's physical. He's strong. Again, reminds me of like an Eric Decker. He's not going to blow you out over the top, but in a contested catch, he will make the grab. He will fight for the ball. He will pull it in and make that catch. So I think that would be a good addition. Again, Witherspoon as well. So don't get down on it, guys. I was down too, but again, as I pointed out earlier, just recapping it to make yourselves feel better. The big guys, the ones signing today, this was the first day. These are the guys with a lot of suitors. They didn't pick us because they're going to choose the Chiefs, or they're going to choose the Ravens, or they're going to choose the Bucks, somebody like that. Oh, Super Soul, is that real? Hold on, guys. You might have some big news. Oh, man. Oh, I love it. I love it when breaking news comes in on the podcast. I'm excited. Oh, man. Oh, that's great. Oh, guys, that's huge. That's huge. Corey Davis. Breaking news, guys. Thank you. Shout out to Super Roll and shout out to Jenny for confirming it. Both those guys breaking the news. Love it. Corey Davis just signed. Corey Davis is a New York Jet. Now, the question is, which I'm going to look up right now, how much is he making? Because the biggest thing with me with Davis, I'm going to check it right now. I don't know if one of you guys saw what he's making. That's going to be a big question for me. Because when it comes to Davis, he was a high pick. He was a first rounder, high potential, a lot of potential when he was taken. But he hasn't lived up to that except for the last few years. So same kind of thing. I agree. Awesome signing, but to me, really, it comes down to the money. I want to check this out right now. Let's see what he wound up getting. Let's see what happened. And Corey Davis. Okay, not bad. Okay. 3 years, 37. Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate it. 3 years, 37.5 million, 27 guaranteed. That's not bad. That's pretty amazing. That's great. So that's awesome. Corey Davis could be a big signing because, again, he was a first round high pick back when he was taken. A lot of potential, a lot of ability. We'll have to see, guys. But again, that's exciting. That is really exciting. So that's the stuff I'm trying to tell you guys about. It's not going to be, those big splash signings. It's going to be guys like this. Guys that, have a lot of potential, but aren't making the huge money, aren't making the big dollars. Okay? So let's see. We got that. That's about 3 years. That's about a little over 12-ish, give or take. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, again, I would tell you, even consider a guy like Juju at that price. I figured he'd make a lot more. So Corey Davis, excellent signing. Happy to have him on the Jets. Welcome on board, Corey Davis. Welcome on board. So before we leave, I'm going to leave you guys. Drew Brees has retired from the NFL, which is huge. Drew Brees was one of my favorite quarterbacks. Why I have his jersey. Love this man. One of my favorite quarterbacks to play. One of the best to play. So shout out to Drew Brees. He ends his career with the most passing yards in NFL history with 80,358. First in NFL history with passes completed of 7,142. Second in all of history in passing touchdowns with 571, and second in all of NFL history of completion percentage of 67.7. It's amazing. Drew Brees had a legendary career. He was an absolute legend and a pleasure to watch. Remember how many teams dismissed him? How many teams? Because remember that stupid height factor. Remember, that's why I tell you measurables aren't everything. He overcame, and he's great. Brees is one of the greatest to ever play in the NFL. Again, you heard all the categories. First in passing yards, first in passes completed, second ever in passing touchdowns, second ever in completion percentage. Love you, Drew Brees. You're the man. Appreciate watching you every single Sunday. Really did. And I wish you the best in retirement. And I'm going to miss him, but Canton awaits him. There's no question that Drew Brees will be enshrined in Canton. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the show that never, my apologies. That's my other podcast. If you guys do want to check it out, I do a podcast on Wednesdays called The Show That Never Sleeps. It's all about New York sports. But here, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. It was an absolute pleasure to be here with you. Absolute fun to be talking to all of you and talking to you guys about Jets. I wish you guys a great night. Excited again about Corey Davis. We're going to see signings like that. Keep it up. Keep up the energy. And again, just remember, it's all about the draft. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you, and I will see you next Monday.